Hey everybody, it's your girl Urban Farm Sister.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about the delay. Had some technical difficulties, but I've been able to log in now. All right, so to get started, since we're kind of running behind time, um, this evening we are going to talk about the North Central SARE Farmer Rancher Grant. Going to do a walkthrough of that grant. Basically, I'm going to explain the different parts of that grant, show you where you can apply, and also the criteria and things that are needed so that you can apply for that grant. So without further ado, all right, a little bit about myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Nadia Ruffin. I'm located in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm an entomologist, scientist, farmer, researcher, educator, and retired disease investigator. I have two degrees. I have a bachelor's of science from the Ohio State University, in agriculture, and I have a master's of science in entomology from the University of Nebraska. I own a um, urban farm here in Cincinnati called Kiwi Produce, and I started a nonprofit called Agricademy Inc, which is actually sponsoring this particular live this evening. I'm co-owner of Agricademy Labs. I have years of experience in floriculture. My family owns a flower shop here named Blossom's Florist. They've been in existence for over 42 years. I also have a background in veterinary and medical research and animal health. And then I also have a background, like I said, in public health as a disease investigator. As a disease investigator, I would be doing the investigating disease outbreaks similar to what was happening during the pandemic. But there's hundreds of diseases that are reportable that have to be investigated, things like Salmonella, E. coli, even the flu and things like that. So I was responsible for that type of stuff in that position. I no longer do that, but that's why a lot of times you'll see posts about, COVID and a lot of public health things because I actually worked in that field. I like to thank all my contributors. If you'd like to contribute to this live as well as all the other things that I do, you can do so by going to PayPal, going to Cash App, money sign Nadia Ruffin, or you can become a patron on my Patreon. I have three different subscription levels on my Patreon. I will be launching shortly within the next 2 weeks a mushroom growing series as well as a hydroponic series. So I'm working on getting that up. If you want to be part of that, if you want to learn how to cultivate mushrooms at home, or you want to learn how to grow certain things in hydroponics at home, you can become a patron at patreon.com urban farm sister /urban farm sister to have access to those particular classes and stuff. I believe that particular starting subscription is $10. It'll be $10 a month, and you'll have access to all the tutorials and lessons and things on how to grow mushrooms, hydroponics, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I present. Also, if you'd like to support the nonprofit Agricademy Inc., you can do so by going to www.agricademyinc.org. Um, just to do a plug real quick, one of the programs that we offer through Agricademy Inc. is Black Empowerment Through Agriculture. We will be launching another series of classes in January 2024. This time, the class is going to be more of a self-paced class. It'll have 16 modules. And you can go on there and you'll have access to those modules for 90 days. If you've ever gone through the class, I know there's some people that are probably watching that have logged in. Basically, what you will get after you complete the modules, take the quizzes, and do the homework assignments and things, you'll receive a certificate of completion. And you'll also have a one-page business plan that you learn how to create. It's actually a farm business plan. The Black Empowerment Through Agriculture is a program that I created back in 2020 is to help Black individuals, male or female, get into the agriculture industry and start a farm operation. Um, and the steps to do that, we have 16 different industries that you can go into that you can do on a small scale. A select group of students that get the certificate of completion, create the one-page farm business plan. They will have the opportunity, if they are local to Cincinnati, to participate in one of our ongoing operations, whether it be our indoor operation or our urban farm operation. Or, we have a lot of things coming up, so you'll be able to be part of that if you actually finish the course. The criteria for this, you have to identify as Black and African American. You have to be an adult, 18 or over. We might allow some high school students in if they're interested in doing so. Um, all the classes are online, so you'll have access once you're put into there, to access to those classes that you can finish those modules and things like that. All right, so the lights outline, we're going to talk about what is actually SARE. We're going to talk about the Farmer Rancher Grant, and we're going to do a walkthrough of the SARE application process. All right, so what is SARE? SARE stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. It is a competitive grant education program operating in every state and island proctorate. The program was established by the USDA agency and Cooperative State Research, Education, and Extension Services. It is part of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, also called NIFA, which is the agency within the USDA. SARE funding primarily comes from federal appropriations allocated to NIFA and is designed to support research and education efforts aimed at promoting sustainable agricultural practices in the United States. The specific budgeting and funding for SARE can vary from year to year as part of the USDA budget. For those of you that don't know what USDA stands for, it stands for United States Department of Agriculture. Let's see here. Make sure there's no questions. All right, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions in the chat area as I go through the actual information about this actual grant here. Okay, so if you want to find out more information about SARE, you always go to www.sare.org. The SARE program is set up to encourage research and outreach designed to increase knowledge concerning agricultural production systems that maintain and enhance the quality of surface and groundwater, maintain and enhance the quality and productivity of soil, conserve soil, water, energy, natural resources, and fish and wildlife habitats, protect the health and safety of persons involved in food and farm systems, and promote the well-being of animals and increase employment opportunities in agriculture. The reason I selected to do this presentation about this grant is because I was actually a SARE grant recipient back in 2019. Me being an entomologist is a person that studies insects. I actually did a project on honeybees. I'm a beekeeper, and there are some things like insects and other arthropods that actually invade and are pests inside beehives. And so my research project was, studying how can we biologically control those pests inside of there without affecting the bees. So I was given funding to carry out that project. It didn't go as planned because what happened in between the project, COVID came along, it kind of extended it. Then there was a lot of issues with the weather and stuff during that time frame. But I was able to finish the project, and I was actually able to present it at a conference last year, my project. But being able to get that funding would allowed me to do that research on my urban farm. All right, so what is SARE? Again, SARE is divided into 4 different regions that operate as separate entities and run grant programs for their states. There's North Central, Southeast, Southern, and Western SARE. Each region has their own leadership and decision making. So tonight's presentation is going to be about North Central SARE because this is where I'm located, and this is where the grant that is actually open at this time is located in this region. Now, the other areas, Northeast, South SARE, and Western SARE, Southern SARE, I'm sorry, and Western SARE, they do have some grants that are open, but I'm only talking about North Central SARE grants this evening, again, because I'm located in this region. And a lot of times, especially individuals that live in the Black community as well as other ethnic communities, they don't always know about this grant. And it's a good grant, especially even if you're an urban farmer, that you can actually do a project and you can actually get it funded. All right, so SARE offers competitive grants to fund research and education projects that advance sustainable agriculture practices in the United States. So who can apply? Basically farmers, ranchers, researchers, extension agents, and other educators, graduate students, even youth can apply. Grants are available for projects within the United States and the U.S. protected territories. So some grants that are offered, each region offers different grants. Some, for example, are research and education grants, graduate student grants, professional development program grants, producer grants, and on-farm research grants. For North Central SARE, North Central is going to be abbreviated NCR and SARE, of course. And that some of the grants that they offer are research and education, farmer rancher, graduate student, youth educator, and professional development and partnership. So some of these other grants, you have to either be like an organization, or you may have to be a business, or you might have to be a teacher, or work at a university. You may not be able to participate in these other grants, but if you are a farmer or rancher, you can participate in this farmer rancher grant. So, the Farmer Rancher Grant program is a competitive grant program for farmers and ranchers who want to explore sustainable solutions to problems through on farm research, demonstration, and educational projects. Farmer Rancher grants are for ideas initiated by farmers and ranchers. These grants are strictly for research, they're not for startup or everyday operating costs. So if you were thinking that you were going to get thousands of dollars to buy land or build a greenhouse, this is not the grant for that. Um, it's not really a lot of grants that allow you to do that anyway. But this is strictly to do a research project on your farm that you see it's going to be sustainable. It's going to help other farmers. It's going to help your environment as well as your community. So the Farmer Rancher Grant is open now. It actually opened in August, and you have until December 7th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Central Time to get your application in. The criteria is you must be a farmer and or a rancher. So if individual grants, so that's one farmer, it's the maximum amount you can apply for is $15,000. If you're a team of grants, that's two or more farmers who are working together on that same project. The maximum you can apply for is $30,000. Projects may last up to 23 months. About 40 projects are funded each year. In 2023, North Central SARE received 140 proposals and selected 42 proposals to fund. Proposals again are due on December 7th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. So some of you might be like, "Oh, I'm not a farmer because I don't have acres and that land and things like that." The USDA defines a farm as any place that produced and sold or normally would have produced and sold at least $1,000 of agricultural products during a given year. So USDA only uses acres and crops and heads of livestock to determine if a place with sales less than 1,000 could normally produce or sell at least that amount. Urban farmers can apply for this grant. Again, I was an urban farmer that applied and I received the grant. Also, our program manager for Agricademy, he applied. He's an urban farmer. He does indoor aquaculture. He received a grant. So you can be an urban farmer. You can also have, if you have land that you have in conservation, that's considered a farm, and you can use this funding to apply for a project under that conservation and things like that. If you want to research some particular problem and come up with a solution to a problem um, on your land that you may not be actually growing anything on, but you have it in conservation. All right, so how do you apply? You need to go to https :// projects.sare.org/. Once you get to this page, you will either have to create an account if you don't have one created already, or you will have to log in if you have an account created already. And I'm actually going to log into there so you all can see what that whole process looks like when you want to go in there and actually apply for the grant. So when you get in there, these are the sections of the proposal that are going to be required. You're going to have to fill out some general information, which we're going to go through that when I log in. You'll get to see the whole application. Um, you'll have to write your actual grant proposal inside of there. It's best to copy the questions into a Word document, answer the questions, and then paste your answers into the little boxes. And you'll see what I'm talking about once I log in. If you're going to do a project that involves livestock care, you're going to have to do a livestock care plan. That means if you're dealing with anything that has a vertebrae, that means any animal that has a backbone. So that could be chickens, it could be cows, pigs, any animals that are not like bees, or if you're doing worms or something like that. If it has a backbone, you're going to have to do this livestock care plan. They want to make sure that these animals are getting optimal care, they're not being injured or mistreated and things like that. You also have to have a letter of support for your project. When I log in, you'll see the criteria that's needed for that. And then you're going to have to do a budget and a budget justification, also known as a budget narrative, where you explain for each item that you're wanting funding, you got to explain why you're needing money for that. So say you need to buy like 100 pots because you're trying to start some particular plant that you want to grow on your farm and do a research study, and say you need to purchase those 100 pots. You got to explain why you need those 100 pots. All right, so I'm going to switch now to the actual SARE application here. So when you go to projects.sare.org, it will pull up the SARE Grant Management System. So at this point, you could live in any region, and it's going to pull up when you log in. It's going to pull up all of the available grants that are currently accepting proposals at this time. So I'm going to log in. All right, so this was the original grant that I had actually received funding for, which is right here. The one that says the use of Bacillus thuringiensis as a biological control for small hive beetles and waxworms. So this is the one I actually got funded for. So if you are actually funded, what will happen is that grant will show up on your listed grants that you need to manage. With these SARE grants, you're actually going to have to do reports. If you're going to use a whole 2 years, you're going to have to do an annual report and then a final report. And the reports are very easy. It's basically you're going to go back and you're going to you're basically reporting your results. So you can say if things are going good or bad, if you had to make any changes, whatever's going on, you're going to have to report that. Like when I was doing my project, I had to report, there was a lot of delays in my project due to COVID. And I explained like I couldn't order certain things for my project because during COVID time, a lot of stuff wasn't available. And then some of the stuff, the price had increased. So I had to allocate funds that I may have allocated for another part of the project to purchase certain things. So when you're doing your report, you need to make a note of anything that changed from your original proposal. All right, so what you'll do, you'll go to start a new application, and you'll go to where your state, whatever state your region is in. Like I said, I'm focusing on North Central SARE because I'm in Ohio, but I'm gonna push down and you can see these are all the grants that you can currently apply for North Central SARE. So if you live in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, Wisconsin, you can apply to either the Farmer Rancher Grant currently or the North Central Youth Educator Grant. I'm only going to go over the North Central Farmer Rancher Grant because everybody doesn't qualify for this Youth Educator Grant. Now, if you live in Northeast SARE and you live in one of these states here, you can apply for the Northeast Farmer Grant. And I'm pretty sure it's very similar to the North Central Farmer Rancher Grant. But if you live in this state, you need to go on here and you need to look at what the criteria is and things like that. Now, if you live in the South, one of the southern states, you can apply right now to the 2024 Southern On-Farm Research Grant, which is very similar to the Farmer Rancher Grant that I was just talking about for North Central SARE, and then they have a Southern Producer Grant. Again, you can click on these if you live in one of these states, and you can fill this out to start a project or start a proposal to do a project to possibly get funded for. And then the Western states, right now they have the 2024 Western Graduate Student application open, the 2024 Western SARE Sabbatical Grant, the 2024 Western Professional Development Grant, the 2024 Western Research to Grassroots, and the 2024 Western Professional and Producer Grant. Again, if you live in these states and you want to apply to these grants, some of these have some of their close dates coming up very soon. So you might want to go on there and read and see what the criteria is if you want to apply for those. All right, so again, I'm going to go to North Central SARE, and then I'm going to I'll click on begin new proposal. I had started one earlier, just playing around to see if I could pull it up and see if it would let me go advance to the different places without filling it out. All right, so you'll start a new proposal and you'll pull this up here. And what'll come up is the beginning part of the grant. So you'll go up here and you will give your project a title. That title is you come up with that depending on what your project is. Then you need to write a project description. So project description, you would describe what exactly are you trying to research. Whether it's trying to grow a particular crop on your property, or you're trying to come up with a solution to a problem that you may be encountering as you're farming. You have to explain what your project is. Then you'll come down here. It'll tell you for this particular grant, it'll give you all the rules and regulations, when it's due. All proposals must be received online, or if you want to print it off and mail it, it has to be to their office by December 7th, 2023. They do not accept fax proposals. And if you're unable to use an online system, you may email it or mail your proposal, and here's the address that you can mail it to. The checklist, these are the items that must be submitted for the 2024 grant proposal: the proposal itself, the budget, the letter of support, and a confirmation of commitment for teams if you're working in a actual team. So down here, it gives you again all the criteria for the grant. They have approximately this year $720,000 available that they're going to be able to grant out to, I think they said, was it 40 applications they were going to do this year. And then if you're trying to do projects that involve things like drones, you must have an operator with an FAA approved operating license in place before the project starts. The timeline of the grant doesn't allow for time to apply for that license. Also, if you're doing projects that may involve industrial hemp, you must comply with the applicable state and USDA regulations. So, certain states they still won't allow you to grow hemp. If your state does allow you to grow hemp, there are some licenses and things that you have to have before you can do that. So you can't use this grant to get that license. You would already have to be established with a hemp license. Again, if you're doing a project with livestock, projects need to comply with reasonable animal care requirements to ensure that animals are properly cared for, and you got to come up with a livestock care plan, and that's on the pages of 17 and 19 if you're doing a project with animals. All right, so these are some of the topics that they would like to see some research projects done in: agroecology, agroforestry, beneficial insects, pollinators, cover crops, educating, mentoring new farmers and ranchers, farmland access, food sovereignty, holistic farming and ranching, integrated pest management, labor needs and issues, organic agriculture, permaculture. The list, it goes on and on. And if you find something else that didn't fall on this list and you don't know, you can always contact the SARE individuals and they can let you know if you can use that as a project to apply for. All right, so again, the application is due December 7th. Your proposal is due that day at 4 p.m. Central Time. By mid-March, they'll let you know if they'll notify you if you've been funded or not. March, the budgets are reviewed and approved, and contracts are prepared for grantees. You sign it and return to the SARE office, North Central SARE office. All projects have to have a March 15th start date on the actual contract. It doesn't necessarily mean that your project is going to start that day, but on the contract, it has to say that you're going to start that day, and you can't purchase stuff prior to that date. And then first check payments. So they break the payment up into 3 payments. The first one will go out between April and May 2024. Depends on how fast you get your contract back. And then you will get a 1099 at the end of the year. The second payment is usually after you do your first annual progress report. You'll get 35% of the remaining balance, and it's released, and you usually get that by April or May of that following year. And then the third part is it's a reimbursement, but you will have to do that final report, and then once the final report and budget are approved, that final payment is sent out to you. If funded, you may receive an on-site visit from North Central SARE representatives. So just be mindful of that they may want to come and see your project in action. All right, now let's talk about these different sections on here. So we're going to click on the general information section. Again, you need to put your title, the state you're applying in. Since you're in North Central SARE, like I said, I'm in Ohio. The county I'm in Ohio is Hamilton County. If you're in one of those North Central states, you would put your county. Are you a farmer or rancher? You must be a farmer or rancher to apply. A farmer rancher is someone who raises crops, especially as a business. Beginning farmer ranchers are eligible to apply. Again, when I explained to you in the PowerPoint, a farmer or rancher is anyone that has sold or will sell at least $1,000 worth of products or goods that you've grown or raised. You would be considered a farmer. So then you're going to decide the type of grant. Are you an individual? Are you a team? If you are going to do a team project, you need to list your team members. And then you're going to have to put your start date on here. Like I said, they really want you to put March 15th. But if you must start later, you can put that later date, but you can't put anything before March 15th on your proposal. So you have to say when your project's going to end. If you're going to use that whole 23 months, which is almost 3 years, you need to say that it's going to end, uh, no later than January 15th, 2026. And then it'll ask you, have you submitted a similar proposal to North Central SARE before? If this is your first time, you would just say no. If this is more, if you applied before, maybe you weren't funded, or maybe you were funded, it'll ask you if you have, yes, and then it may ask you like, well, what was the name of your project and things like that. And then they'll ask you, have you received the SARE Rancher Grant? If yes, provide the information requested below. And then here you're going to choose your farming system. So are you doing a project for animal production? Are you doing a project for crop production? Are you doing an education and training project? Are you doing an energy project? Are you doing a farm business management, or including marketing project? Are you doing a natural resources or environmental project, pest management, production systems, including agro ecosystems, aquaponics, holistic management, hydroponics, integrated crops, and livestock systems, organic agriculture, permaculture? Are you doing a soil management project? Are you doing sustainable communities project? So you select one of those, and then you save your answer. And then here, if you're doing some type of project with crops, you would select uh, if your crop is, you would say this, if your crop is not a commodity specific or does not apply to commodities, or if they do, you pick one of these options that your project would fall under. Um, like I said, I did mine on honeybees. Our program manager, Chandler Glover, he did his on oysters. So he had to pick. We both had to pick animals, but because our animals don't have backbones, we didn't have to write a animal care plan. Then they have another thing down here. If your project is about crops that are not listed above, you can list them here. And then basically that's just the introductory part. So I'm gonna go back. All right. So now we're gonna go to the actual grant proposal itself. All right. So you will go to the first question. So the person that's submitting the actual application, they are known as the project coordinator. You need to make sure all your information is up to date, your contact information and stuff, because they actually mail out your check. You can't do direct deposit or anything like that. So if you are funded, and when you sign that contract, you need to make sure that it's your check is being sent to an address that you regularly check. Um, Preferably your operation, but if say you have a empty lot or something that doesn't have an actual mailbox, you need to have it sent to an office or something that you can actually receive your check. Um, for people, you need to uh, describe your background and experience if you're doing an individual proposal. So this is where you explain what type of farmer you are, or your degrees. You give a whole background about yourself. If you're working with a team of people, do the same thing. You got to explain your team members' backgrounds, what's their role in that project, and things like that. And then again, you're going to have to do a team confirmation of commitment. So it'll be an email that'll send out to the participants to make sure that they are saying they really want to work on this project. And they will have to send that email back confirming that they are participating in this particular project. All right, so then you're going to come down here and you're going to describe the research or education problem you're trying to solve. So you put that information in this box, this text box here. This is why I said it's important that you copy these questions and onto a actual Word document, answer on the Word document, and then paste the questions, your answers back into this box. It'll just make it a lot easier. Now you can save each one of these boxes, But when I was filling out the application, it was just a lot easier to have it on a Word document, typing it up, and then just copy and pasting it in here. Um, because sometimes, say if something happened to your computer, and you weren't able to save on here, I think it automatically saves after so long. But if you don't save it and you type it in here and you forget to save, it's gone. So it's good to have that Word document so that you will have access to that information just in case some technical issue happens. All right. So then you're going to go to the next section, which is solutions and objectives. Solutions. If this is a research project, describe how the trials will be set up, the materials and methods you will use, and what sustainable agricultural practices you will try. If this is a demonstration and an educational project, explain the teaching methods and materials you will use and the sustainable practices you will demonstrate. So then you have to write an objective. The objectives are major things you plan to accomplish during the project by carrying out research activities or demonstrations and education activities. Focus on what you can complete during the 23 months of the grant, even if major objectives will take longer than 23 months. So say you have this project, but you're thinking it might take about, 3-4 years. What can you complete in that 23 months of the project that you feel that if you got funding for it would help you with the completion of the project later on? Um, so some examples here, and I love that they give people examples so that you can see like what they're kind of looking for. One example would be is you want to evaluate the usefulness of 5 cover crops through field testing. You want to identify 3 cover crops for potential use in intensive vegetable production. You're going to plant 3 cover crops, demonstrating plots on 3 separate vegetable farms to use during summer field days. And you're going to share your findings through field days on the website and social media and do a conference presentation. So optional, you can provide drawings and images in your answer. And you need to label the upload or attachment so viewers know what your if you're doing optional drawings and images, you need to label and name it so they'll know what they're looking at when they open those files. So again, you put that information in here um, to answer that question. Then it's a sustainable agriculture benefit. How will your solution benefit other farmers and ranchers in your community in the North Central SARE region economically, ecologically, and socially? From the list that opens when you click edit, choose one or more of the benefits you expect your project to provide and that you intend to measure. So here's the list. So if you're doing economic sustainability, you want to improve income or profitability for with your project. You want to improve market opportunities. You want to increase business enterprise opportunities, increase employment and labor opportunities. If there's environmental sustainability, you want to improve landscape diversity, ecological services, improve soil quality, health, improve water quality. If it's production or a production efficiency project, you want to improve crop production or production efficiency. Now, if it's a social sustainable, you want to improve agriculture and food systems infrastructure, you want to improve food accessibility, or you want to improve quality of life. So you have to decide which one of these your project falls under, and you need to select. And you can select multiples from each column. Maybe you're doing a project that falls in both environmental and economic. So again, you need to decide what your project is going to cover. All right, then you're going to come down here and you're going to explain how you're going to measure your results. So you will measure results. How will you measure your results for your project? You're going to list your answers from the sustainable agriculture benefits questions and explain what and how you will measure results for each one. Documenting the results of your project may involve record keeping, taking pictures, surveys, and other methods. So when I did my bee project, basically I had to take pictures of, inside the beehives. I showed along the process of, I was testing out these different bacteria that would only target the pest insects and things. And so I took pictures of, I fed it to these pest insects, and then, a few days later, I would record how many of them actually succumbed to the bacteria, and then that could give me, the data that I needed. So when I was ready to actually spray it into the hives, I was able to, come up with, yes, this would be an effective treatment. So some examples of this, and it'll have this table that you kind of fill out this table like this, and you can make tables inside of here. Just go over to the table, and then you say how many cells and how many rows you want. Um, guess it'll work. Sometimes it doesn't work. But all right, so you'll say the benefit you want to improve soil quality and health. Remember, these are coming from up here. And then what are you going to measure? And you're going to measure soil loss, which is erosion. And how will you measure these results? Using a soil erosion measurement stick to compare soil loss before and after cover crops. And then you want to improve quality of life. You want to increase the knowledge and intention to use cover crops for farmers who attend field day workshops. Surveys and discussions are held before and after the field day workshops. So in this example, this person wants to improve soil quality. This is how they're going. This is what they're measuring. They're measuring erosion, and this is how they're going to measure it. And then they also want to improve quality of life. What they're going to measure is increased knowledge and attention to use cover crops by farmers, and how they will measure that. They were going to hand out flyers. I'm sorry, they're going to hand out surveys and discussions held before and after the field, and they'll take the results from those surveys. Now, your project may not use a survey. It may be something else. You might give people a test, or you might administer, they might have to submit a paper. Whatever you feel your project it will be best easily for you to measure your results. That's what you're going to have to come up with. Everybody's project is different. So this person's focusing on soil. Somebody else might focus on growing herb plants and the benefits of that to the environment, or and the way you're going to measure that. It could be a number of different ways. You have to come up with that. All right, so contributions to sustainable agriculture. How will your project add to sustainable agriculture knowledge? Explain how your project builds on past research and education efforts. So this is where you're going to have to actually do a little research, and you're going to have to find other SARE projects that have been done that may look similar to your project, and you're going to have to use them to write your proposal up, saying, in my case, there were some other bee projects, but there weren't any that actually looked at using bacteria as a biological control, but they had other controls that they had other methods that they were using to control these particular pests that were in the beehive. And so I had to write within my project, why this particular project is very similar, but then I also had to explain why it isn't and what I'm trying to achieve based off basic and basing it off what they achieved. Um, so to look up other SARE projects, let's see if I can share this other window. You're gonna click on that link that I clicked on in the window here. This link right here. You're gonna click on where it says Project SARE, search projects, and let me pull that window up really quickly. Let's see. Guess it won't let me add another one. All right, I'll stop sharing this one. Okay, so this is where you would go to actually look up other SARE projects. And so if you know a SARE project that has a particular title, you could look up. But you can go down here and type in like a keyword. Say you were looking for basil, and you want to look up projects that use basil as a cover crop. So you could type in basil as a cover crop, and you can actually look in all regions, and you can give it a specific time frame. So say within the last 10 years, and if there's any type of projects, and we'll do a farmer rancher project, and you'll do a search. So here, it pulled up different projects that it may not be exactly what you're looking for, but it tries to find like cover crops. I don't see anything that says basil right now. Um, but basically, it's what you'll do. You'll go and you'll search for other projects that you will use to write up this part of uh, the proposal, where it's asking for you to, give some background information about why your project is important. Had any other people, or any other groups or anything had actually tried to do a project in that manner. All right, let me switch back to the other screen. Okay. All right. So back to the application itself. So you need to write that up, and you're going to put your answer, and it's only 400 words. So you don't have to get real involved with this little background research, but you want to make sure that it's effective in explaining your project based off other projects that are similar to yours. And then you're going a part of this grant is an outreach component that you're going to have to do. So, how will you share information you learn from your project with farmers, ranchers, educators, and others? All projects must include outreach, so you're going to have to do some type of outreach. So if you're working on a project where you don't want it really becoming public knowledge, this probably wouldn't be the grant you work on that project. Maybe you want to work on something else, or maybe just a part of that project that you don't mind being exposed to the public. Um, but you're going to have to do some outreach, and publishing some of the information from your project so that other farmers and ranchers can benefit from your project. So you're going to have to come up with an outreach activity. You're going to have to come up with a timeline for that outreach activity. This isn't set in stone. This is just when you write your proposal up. You're going to say during this time frame, if everything goes as planned, we would like to do this outreach at this particular time. Again, nobody controls life. Things happen like COVID, so we never know what's going to happen in the future. So you can always change these dates and things, but you still need to have that outreach component. So in this case, they said mid-May to August 2024, they're going to document progress of a research trial by taking pictures weekly and posting them with descriptions on Freeman Farm website and the Facebook page. And they're going to develop and post 2 YouTube videos on planting and working with cover crops. And then you need to say who's going to be doing these tasks. In this case, they listed their individuals who's gonna upload it to the website, who's going to upload it to Facebook and things like that. So your outreach component, again, you need to have an outreach. You need to figure out what your outreach is going to be, and then you need to figure out who's going to be doing those tasks. If it's especially if it's a team. But also, you could be an individual, but you can still have other people working for you or things like that, that can do these outreach uh, participation things. All right, let's go back to livestock care plan. So anybody that's going to do a project that's involving animals, vertebrate animals only. So vertebrate animals, again, this includes cows, sheep, poultry, fish. Animals without a vertebrae, such as bees and other insects and shrimp, are not considered livestock for this program. If your project involves livestock, answer yes and fill out the livestock care form to complete your application. If your program does not involve livestock, answer no and do not fill out the livestock care form. So again, here's the question. If you say yes, you're gonna have to fill out that form. This form is gonna include things. It's gonna ask you questions. What kind of animal? Just, I have chickens. So say I was gonna do something with chickens. Then I would save that, and then please indicate how many of the animals were involved in the project. So you have to say how many animals you're going to use, the source of the animals, were they obtained for the project, or did you already own them? Things like that. Will you use money for SARE to purchase animals? Stocking density. What is the stocking density space per animal? Please provide a response to all forms of housing. Housing, shelter, cleaning. So you have to fill all of this out if you're going to do animals with vertebrae. Then you're going to have your veterinarian ready to be available as well. Their information so that if there's ever an emergency or you need some type of care, your vet is going to be available. And then if there's ever a problem that SARE, they can contact your vet as well. But if you're not doing animals, or if you're doing animals that do not have a vertebrae, you don't have to worry about filling all that out. All right, let's see here. All right, the letter of support. Applicants must submit one letter of support. You can submit an optional second letter. Do not submit more than 2 letters, though. Don't overdo it. 2 is the max. 1 is fine. I only had 1 letter of support, and like I said, I got the grant. The letter must be in PDF file, and it must be uploaded and attached to the application. Contact supporters early and make sure that they are familiar with your project so they can write a strong letter. People who might write a support letter include extension educators, bankers, co-op and grocery managers, implement dealers, or staff from farm organizations, farm service agencies, local soil, water, and conservation district offices, natural resource conservation services, nonprofit organizations. Letters of support should include contact information of the supporter, description of your experience and ability to carry out the project, explanation of why the project is needed and how it will benefit the community, information that will support the proposal. For example, if a supporter will help you with outreach, ask them to include that information in the letter and provide specifics about how they will help. Note, once you upload the PDF file of your letter, you must click save to add it to your application. So if you don't click save, it's not going to save on there. You must click save. So right here is where you add that file. Again, this particular application proposal is due December 7th. So if you're thinking about applying, you need to start asking your letter of support people now so they can write that letter up. I know there's things like Chat GPT and things like that are available now. I don't know how they go about, scanning to see if you use Chat GPT to write those letters up. But that is an option that you can use at your disposal, or the person that's writing that letter up to help them come up with a letter. But again, it's going to have to be based off your project. So if your project, whatever's about, the support letter has to support that project. And the person or individual that you're reaching out to, they have to be in support of your project. They have to put their information, their contact information and stuff on there. I don't know if SARE contacts these people or not, so make sure they're real people. Don't just put some bogus folks on there. Again, this is a federally granted funds. There's a lot of background checks and things they may or may not do. So I'm just forewarning you, don't try to do anything sinister. So it might get you in trouble. So just make sure you're following the application correctly, you're doing everything correctly, so that you don't, have to give the funding back or whatever, because you didn't follow the rules. All right. Let's see here. Last section, budget and justification. Okay, so the last part that you're going to fill out is this budget part. Read the budget instructions and example budget on page 6 and 7 of the call for proposals before you complete your budget. And you can see that here. If you click on this link, it'll give you an example of a budget proposal. But basically, here's an example of a budget entry. All right, so the category is materials and supplies. So your description is you need cover crop seed for test plots that will be used for grazing. The amount is $1,980. Details or justification. So this is saying, why do you need this particular product? This is a custom mix. It's $3.30 a pound. We'll spread it 30 pounds per acre over 20 acres. And this is how much that costs for that particular um, amount of land and seed to cover that amount of land. So the categories, you choose the budget categories that apply to your project. You can have personnel. You can use this for farm, rancher labor, and hired labor. List everyone is participating on your project except consultants and service providers, who should be listed under other direct costs. Include a realistic estimate of the amount of labor and the cost for each participant being paid with the grant funds. Please do not write a grant and you just use all the money to pay someone. That's not what this grant is for. Basically, this grant is a research project that's, secondary to your own operations and stuff. So these people are not going to be working on your project, 40 hours a week for the next 2 years. You don't even have that type of money. So it might be that you only need them, maybe 20 hours the whole project or something. So you need to write it up to where all the money isn't going to personnel. That'll be a first red flag that they usually don't pick those type of projects that all the money is going to personnel. Um, but you can also put on there people that are not going to get paid with the grant and just put zero by them. So if you're going to pay personnel, you need to have that category on your budget justification. Materials and supplies used for items you plan to purchase to carry out your project. Travel, if you have to do any traveling to any areas or any traveling you have to do to pick up products and things like that, you need to calculate that into your cost. Other direct costs, again, if you have consultants or service providers, communication, photocopying, if you're going to do conferences, meetings, or workshops, the price for each one of those workshops. Equipment, permanent fencing, perennial seeds and plants and livestock. Grant funds can be used for 50% or less of the cost of these items, including the total cost of the item in the column, but enter 50% or less of the total cost in the amount column. Equipment definition is an item that costs $5,000 or more with a useful life of more than 1 year. So equipment is different than materials and supplies. So equipment would be like if you had to purchase a refrigerator to store the crops that you harvested. If you and it costs $5,000, the grant could cover 2,500 of that 5,000, but it's not going to cover the whole cost of that refrigerator. And the description, again, you need to provide a brief description of each item you want to purchase that explains why it is needed for the project. For personnel, briefly list the role that each person plays in the project. Then you'll have amounts, enter amount you are requesting for each item. And then you have to do a detailed justification, show how you came up with the cost for each item, show your math. So this is usually a per unit cost multiplied by the number of units. Use rounded numbers. So for example, if you're going to have somebody working 23 hours at $25 an hour, that's $575. Or if you're going to, you're going to have to drive about 89 miles for your project, 89 miles times the mile rate is 0.665. That gives you $58.30 rounded down to $58. Reviewers look for accurate budgets that match the activities in your proposal. So make sure your supply items and stuff are matching up with the project that you're trying to carry out. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it'll let me open this. No, it won't let me open it because I don't have a project start date or end date. Um, but when you go in there, it'll actually be listed in these little categories like this box here, and you have to select which category you're wanting to write the budget for and justify. So that's the budget and justification. After you fill out all of that information, give it a title, all of that. Uh, this submit proposal button will be available. You'll hit that. It'll ask you some questions or something, and then you submit the proposal. Um, Say you made a mistake or something, you can go back and edit the proposal up until the time that it's actually due, which is again December 7th at 4 p.m. East Central Time. Um, and that's how you submit that. So this is how you fill out this application. It looks like a lot, but once you start getting into it, you'll realize it kind of runs smoothly, especially if you have a possible research idea. The most important part is going to be that research part and the actual proposal, your materials and methods and things like that. If you have any questions, though, you can send me an inbox or something and ask me questions. But you can also write North Central SARE, and they can answer your questions directly on this SARE website. I'll go to North Central. They actually have some more. They have a video similar to what I just did for you all, where they explain the different sections of the application. If you would like to view that, and you would go there, here's the Farmer Rancher Grant, learn more. And they have a frequently asked questions, but I've covered everything that they would have covered in that presentation. But if you'd like to watch that presentation, they have a slideshow over here. Um, let's see. That's how I open it up. If you want to view the video of their presentation, you can go down to the bottom and you can click on the link. All right, sorry about that. Open up another window. You guys couldn't see. All right. And this is the regional coordinator. Her name is Joe Benjamin. This is who I was contacting when I had to submit my reports, and she had to review them and things like that. So she's a good source of information if you have any questions. If you live in the North Central SARE region, if you live in these other regions, they have a contact person that you can contact for the questions for the particular grants that are, accepting proposals right now in those regions. So that's actually the end of this presentation on the SARE grant. Did anybody have any questions before I get out of here? Any questions? I'll give you guys a second because I know it's a delay. All right, if nobody has any questions, then that's the end of tonight's presentation. Um, I see some people are making comments here. Peace, everyone. Hey, Bianca. I don't know if you're still on here or not. Christina Davis said, this is great information. Bam said 100. Annette Bethel said, congratulations. Thank you, Beth. Queen B, great information. Thank you. Sean Wilburn said, thank you. Hello and thank you. Elizabeth Bates said, thank you. You're welcome. Fawn B, thank you, Nadia. So much information. You're welcome. Again, I try to do this so you guys at least have a month left to carry out, write out the proposals and stuff. Again, if you have any questions, you can contact the people at SARE. You can send me an inbox on Facebook or Instagram. I can help you out a little bit. If you had any questions or anything like that. You can actually, again, search on SARE, search on there and see projects that have already been done, especially in your region, and seeing, if there's something that you can do to improve that project that has already been done. Or maybe you have a, possible problem or, something on your operation that you have currently now that you would like to look into researching and solving. Again, these are sustainable agriculture, so they want projects that are going to, help the environment, help the community, help animals, farmers, pollinators, all types of stuff. So it's more of like organic farming, or fixing all these other problems that have been created by conventional agriculture. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, you can inbox me, send me an email, Nadia Ruffin at Agricademy Inc.org. And I'll talk with you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.